Almost 1,000 days ago, I was overcome with the stress and anxiety of everyday life, so I decided to do something extreme to get my life back on track. I hiked to a remote cave in the California mountains, where I spent the last 1,000 days doing an isolated meditation retreat, and it hasn't been easy. I knew little about meditation before I began, so wrestling with my mind in complete solitude has led me to question if I'm going insane on more than one occasion. I have no cell phone, Wi-Fi, or computer. Food hasn't been easy to come by, and sleeping on the dirt definitely took some getting used to. But thankfully, after a painstaking first few months, things started to get easier, and on top of that, my level of mental clarity started to improve. I'm no longer overcome by stress and anxiety, and now, almost 1,000 days into the challenge, my mind feels stronger than ever, and I'm getting ready to return to the real world.
Okay, so this story isn't true. I haven't been up here for 1,000 days. I'm nowhere near that much of a hippie. In fact, the main road is just a couple hundred yards that way, and I hiked up here this morning to shoot this footage. Now, while this intro story is completely made up for dramatic effect, here's what is true. I'm a normal guy who discovered meditation a few years ago, and before you roll your eyes and click away from this video, I'm not talking about the overly spiritual type of practice that most people think meditation is. I'm talking about a very simple and logical approach to meditation that doesn't ask you to live in a cave or visit a Buddhist monastery. Mindfulness meditation is a type of meditation that you can practice in just a few minutes per day and is proven to have a list of benefits for your physical and mental health. The effect it's had on my life is dramatic, and I think it can improve your life as well. So in this video, I want to share what I've learned after meditating 1,000 times. These are the things that I wish I would have known when I started, and that have made the practice even more effective. So if you're just getting started, or even if you've been meditating for a while, I think this video will be very helpful. Let's get into it.
The idea for this video began a long time ago, after my father asked me what meditation was. At the time, I'd spent over 100 hours meditating, completed nearly 1,000 meditation sessions, and read a list of books on the topic. So you'd think answering this question would have been easy, but it wasn't. As I unconfidently answered, I found myself reciting the same vague information I'd heard for years. I said things like, meditation makes you more self-aware, meditation improves focus, and meditation helps reduce stress, anxiety, and depression. When my father asked how, I was lost for words. I could have stumbled my way through an answer, but I couldn't clearly articulate how meditation improves everyday life. At first, I thought I was the problem. Maybe I daydreamed my way through those chapters. But when I asked other meditators the same question, they all had the same problem. All were able to recite the benefits of meditation, yet none were able to clearly define how meditation improved daily life. So I set out to answer that question once and for all. Since that time, I've read more, practiced more, written about the topic, and even built my own meditation app, Awair, that has hundreds of guided meditation practices. And along the way, I came to an important realization. Here's what that is. I believe our culture's general inability to understand how meditation works is problematic for two main reasons. First, the benefits of meditation are less effective when you don't understand how the practice works. And second, many people avoid meditation altogether because they don't understand why it's valuable. In general, I think we have a hard time explaining how meditation works because a lot of meditation literature is subjective and esoteric. Concepts like spiritual awakenings, balancing chakras, or connecting to infinite intelligence are confusing and hard to believe. And sadly, I think these implausible ideas end up turning many people away from meditation altogether. But thankfully, you don't have to believe in mysticism to benefit from meditation. The truth is, you can improve your life through meditation without wearing orange robes, sleeping with chakra crystals under your pillow, or bathing in patchouli oil.
Holy f***, this stuff stinks.
So with that in mind, I want to share a simple and easy to understand explanation of why meditation works and how it can improve your life. It all starts with a radio station in your mind. If you recorded and replayed the thoughts that ran through your mind, you might be surprised by what you heard. For example, here's what your thoughts might sound like on a typical Monday morning while getting ready for work. It's Monday. Man, I need to get out of bed or I'm gonna be late for work. What am I gonna have for breakfast? Oh, I forgot to get food last night. I'll have to get something on the way to work. Wait, is that a gray hair? Am I old enough to have gray hair? Maybe I'm working too much. Speaking of work, I have a presentation today. Man, I'm really nervous. I hope the client likes it. I wonder if they'll notice my gray hair. While this may sound crazy and exhausting, it's actually perfectly normal. You see, your brain is like a radio station that sends you a continual stream of thoughts. In many cases, the radio station in your mind is harmless. But if your radio gets out of control, that can have a big effect on your life. For example, if your radio is always sending you messages like, you're a loser or you'll never fall in love, then those thoughts can steer your life off course if you let them. Broadly speaking, two big problems occur when you lose control of the radio station in your mind. First, your ability to focus decreases. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever tried to have a conversation while scrolling through your phone? If so, how did that conversation go? Well, I'm guessing not so well. And that's because you can't give your full attention to more than one thing at a time. You see, when you give your attention to your cell phone, you take it away from the conversation. And as a result, the conversation suffers. The same thing happens to your life when your brain's radio station is out of control. You see, at times the radio station in your mind gets so loud that you can't focus on the present moment. And when this happens, you miss many of life's meaningful experiences. As an example, you can't fully engage with your spouse at dinner if your mind is occupied about being stressed with work. And you won't enjoy doing something that you love if you're always worried about the future. These examples explain what somebody means when they describe being there without being there. In other words, their body is there, but their mind is somewhere else. You see, to truly experience life's meaningful moments, you have to fully engage with those moments. And thankfully, meditation can help. Here's how. Contrary to popular belief, meditation is not about clearing your mind. Instead, during a typical mindfulness meditation, you practice by focusing on one single thing. As an example, you might choose to focus on the sensation of your breath or the sound of a bell. Most people choose to focus on the breath because it's always available. Knowing this, here's how a simple mindfulness meditation session might progress. 1. Close your eyes while sitting upright in a comfortable position. 2. Bring your attention to the sensation of your breath. 3. Eventually, your mind will wander off in thought. When you notice that this has happened, bring your attention back to the breath. And 4. Continue this process for as long as you like. Believe it or not, these simple steps are the foundation of nearly every mindfulness meditation practice. And while simple in theory, meditation is difficult in practice. You see, trying to prevent your mind from wandering off in thought is incredibly hard to do, but it's a great way to improve your ability to focus. Here's why. Bringing your attention back to the breath is a lot like doing a bicep curl for your focus muscle. Every time you refocus on the breath, you strengthen your ability to focus. As your focus improves, so does the quality of your life. That's because you can give your attention to the things that matter without getting lost in the sound of the radio. You see, if you're not stressed about work, you can fully engage with your spouse at dinner. And if you're not constantly worried about the future, you can focus on doing something that you love to do. In short, meditation helps you stay focused by teaching you to be aware of where your attention lands. This skill is powerful because learning to identify when you've lost focus allows you to refocus on what matters. The second problem you face when you lose control of the radio in your mind is you become vulnerable to difficult thoughts and emotions. Many people believe that their thoughts represent who they are. If the radio says you're a loser, they believe it. If the radio says you'll never find love, they stop looking. This mindset opens you up to a host of mental health problems. Here's why. When you believe you are your thoughts, you become a slave to those thoughts. So if the radio makes you feel sad or angry or anxious, you believe you'll feel that way until the station changes. This mindset leaves you feeling stuck and subject to whatever the radio plays. When you think this way, your emotions can quickly spiral out of control, leaving you feeling chronically stressed, anxious, or depressed. And it goes without saying that this can have a huge impact on the quality of your life. Thankfully, meditation can also help with this problem. Here's how. As you meditate, you'll likely begin to recognize something important about the mind. And that is your mind appears to have two distinct parts. First, you have the radio that sends you a continual stream of thoughts. But second, there appears to be a part of the mind that notices, listens to, or considers those thoughts. This concept of there being a radio and a listener explains how you can get lost in thought and then suddenly notice that your mind has wandered. Here's why this is important. Contrary to what most people believe, you are not the radio. Instead, you are the listener. And as the listener, you get to choose what you believe. And this is incredibly powerful. Now, to help you understand this point, here's an analogy that will explain it. Your mind is a lot like the conveyor belt at a sushi restaurant. Just like the radio in your mind sends you a continuous stream of thoughts, the conveyor belt at a sushi restaurant sends you an endless variety of sushi. Believing every thought from the radio in your mind is equivalent to eating every piece of sushi that comes your way. With this approach, you become a slave to the conveyor belt. You feel forced to eat everything, even if you don't like it. And as a result, you leave the restaurant feeling overwhelmed, full, and sick. But thankfully, you don't have to eat every piece of sushi that passes by. Instead, you can choose to eat what you want and let the rest go. With this approach, you are no longer a slave to the conveyor belt, and deciding what sushi to eat puts you in control and leaves you feeling satisfied. Now, you can say the same thing about the thoughts in your mind. You don't have to believe every thought that comes your way. If the radio says you're a loser, you don't have to believe it. Instead, you can let that thought go and choose to listen to something helpful. You see, with this approach, you are no longer a slave to the radio in your mind, and you put yourself in control of your life. Ultimately, meditation reduces the effects of difficult thoughts and emotions because it helps you recognize that thoughts do not define who you are. Instead, it shows you that thoughts are just thoughts, and with this understanding, unhelpful thoughts begin to lose their power. Okay, before I go, I want to explain how you can use these ideas to improve everyday life. Now that you understand the distinction between the radio and the listener, taking just a few minutes each day to examine your mind with meditation can make you more self-aware during the rest of your day. With enough practice, you'll begin to notice yourself lost in thought more often. And when you do, you can ask yourself 2 questions. First, am I focusing on the right thing? So if you're eating dinner with your spouse and you recognize that you're focusing on work, then use that as a reminder to refocus your attention on your spouse. And second, is this thought helpful or harmful? All too often, we let unhelpful thoughts influence our behavior. So maybe you have the dream of starting your own business, but you're worried that you might fail, so you never try. To fix this problem, anytime you recognize that unhelpful thoughts are taking you away from the life you want, use that recognition as a reminder to refocus your attention on something helpful. I can't thank you enough for watching this video, and I hope it was helpful. Now, if you want more information like this, I highly recommend you check out my app, Awair. Awair is a self-improvement based meditation app that teaches you important skills like how to make better decisions, build good habits, and develop more self-confidence. The app combines all of those lessons with guided meditation, which helps you develop the state of mind and self-awareness needed to apply what you've learned. On top of that, you also get the benefits of meditation, like improved focus and sleep, plus a reduction in negative emotions like stress, anxiety, and sadness. So if you like the type of content you see on this channel and self-improvement in general, then I think you'll love Awair. It's available on iOS, Android, and the web, and you can get started today for free with the links below in the description. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you soon.